Hello, good evening, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Kaya Plus Not So Late Night Show. So let's wait for the crowd to come in, and of course, you guys might already know what company are we going to be talking about today. But if you guys notice about the title, so it's a question. So of course, undoubtedly, today's company that we'll be talking about will be Frontken Corporation Bhd. And the question, which is also the title, is it a tech stock or is it an engineering stock? So because this today's episode is a bit special, so you will need to answer the question. I mean, based on what you're understanding, let us know in the comment section. Do you think Frontken is a tech stock or Frontken is an engineering stock? Because when we were to finish this lesson or this episode today, you would actually learn something when it comes to studying or looking at a company. Of course, you have to really first give an opinion first. What do you think Frontken is? Is it a tech stock or is it an engineering stock? Then when we eventually show you guys how the company works, what's the company's business, and then you slowly get to learn a lesson today. So I think, of course, the person who suggested us to talk about Frontken today also made us learn a lesson. Because to be very honest, me personally, I haven't really looked at Frontken for quite some time. What about you, Chun Bing? When we were approached to talk about Frontken, based on your understanding previously, what was Frontken all about?
No, for me, the first impression is semiconductor related stocks, but then due to the nature of the client that this company is supporting, so it made me link to tech stock because they are supporting one of the biggest company in Taiwan, which is producing very high end wafer, all those things to support the world. So this make me link this supposed to be tech stock, although they are very into semiconductor fields. Probably we can start.
Okay. So before we go through, of course, I think we already have a few people giving their opinion. So Dawson is saying it's a service engineering company. Frijik is also saying it's an engineering stock. So okay, later we'll see whether both you, Dawson, and Frijik, are you correct or not. Probably you have already looked into the company, you already know what the company is doing. And of course, for the others who don't know yet, maybe this is just another company that is chosen to be today's topic for tech stock discussion. So yeah, also we also have Kelvin here. So good evening, and let's go on with our company of the day, Frontken Corporation Bhd. So disclaimer, it's just for educational purposes, sharing purposes, and whatsoever, not by call. So when this company was put forward to us to discuss and also to study, and after going through the whole process, the first thing I actually thought of was this story. So if you guys are not familiar with this story, basically this is a very basic story or quick story where someone asked 5 or 6 blind people to touch an elephant and say, okay, because they never seen elephant before, they've been blind since they were small. So they say, okay, let's show them what elephant like. But because they cannot see, so we just ask them to touch, and then they will roughly know what is an elephant. So the story goes on. These 6 or 7 blind people, they stood at different positions around the elephant. So of course, blind person number 1, when he touched the tusk of the elephant, he will just feel a long bone or a long branch kind of feeling. I say, okay, elephant is like that one. And then you have blind person B, she's touching the stomach of the elephant. So for her, she said, okay, maybe it's soft, it's also rough. So elephant is a rough wall. Whereas for blind person number 1, it's a very sharp tusk kind of animal. And then of course you also have other people touching the tail and whatsoever. So each blind people approaching the elephant at the different position when they touch it, then they will get what they think that there is about an elephant, how it looks like, and if they never see it before. So I think one of the things that really pull me back to Frontken is how the news actually portray the company, how the company actually portrays themselves. So it would be very inherent that people would think Frontken as a tech stock, or for those who have been following Frontken, they will still think it is solely an engineering company. So let us know if you still have any opinion, and we will move on to the business model of Frontken. So you see here the news, this is just a snapshot of the news. They say that Frontken 4Q net profit at 18.19 million, and then they put a chip there. So if people who doesn't read the news, they will just glance through, they say, wow, Frontken really go into chip making, really become a semiconductor company. And this is also probably why people ask us to study about Frontken. So is it really a semiconductor or tech stock? We go to the next slide, which is also another news on Frontken. And you see down there, they say that it's a semiconductor related company, but they never tell you what field or what are they doing. So when people say semiconductor related, people straight away link back, okay lah, confirm it's semiconductor company. So is it really a semiconductor company? Yeah. So even if you see how the management of the company position themselves, this is Frontken's annual report from 2017, 2018, 2019, and the latest one. So you can see the left part, most left part is what they were doing and what the Frontken that I knew. Basically, they were in steel surfacing, spraying, cleaning, whatsoever. They were in the heavy industry, servicing the oil and gas players, doing surface maintenance for metalworks. That was the Frontken I knew. And I never really looked at them anymore for the past few years. But slowly, when they slowly venture into a semiconductor related business, you see that their annual report also become more tech-like. And of course, the latest, they just put a chip there. And people who just glance through will say, oh, really become tech company. But what tech is it doing? Do you guys know? And what make the company actually grow from 20 cents a share until today 3 ringgit a share? What actually made that happen? Have you guys really understand and went deeper to study the company or not? So let's go into the answer of what Frontken really does. So if you look at Frontken, basically they are made up of 5 companies. And of course, they are not small, they are quite big. They have a big presence around Asia. You have Malaysia, Frontken, you have Frontken Singapore, and you also have RS Green Technology, which is their Taiwan office. Then you also have PT Frontken in Indonesia, and also Frontken Integrated Services in Bahrain. So they have offices all around Asia, and they both serve a different sector within their business. So they do not just now serve the oil and gas player or the heavy industries player. They also enter into a tech semiconductor, but we will see what they actually do in the semiconductor field. So Jun Bing, I mean, until now, will you be more familiar or understand or try to guess what Frontken actually does?
Yeah, of course, we went through all these things and then we check. I mean, it's also quite nature for people to link this to a tech stock because of like what I mentioned, the key client that link to them, and then what the key client serving is all the key major tech player, even in the US or China. So it make a lot of people link them straight away. But I think it's nothing wrong. You see this from a tech perspective because their growth depends on this industry very much. Without this industry keep on growing, I think they won't be having a lot of good prospects. So I think it's quite subjective whether you want to see it from the business model perspective or the client they are serving. Both also play a part.
Yep. So, okay. So actually, Frontken is quite straightforward. They have 3 business verticals. So the first one, or the more famous one that they have been putting them in the news, is the semiconductor sector. And what they do is actually they do advanced precision cleaning. So in very layman terms, if you take away all the fancy, but basically they help their clients clean their machines, and their clients are chip makers. So later we'll talk more in detail what happens during chip making, and why is it so important to clean a chip making machine, and are they only the person that clean this kind of machine? Do they have any other competitors? So later we'll touch more deeper. So this is one of the key business pillar that has actually made the stock grow so much in terms of earnings and also share prices. I think I still remember the day inside a chat group where people were still talking about the Frontken share, or 20 cent, then go up to 24 cent. Okay, I can sell already. Then it dropped back to 20 cent. Then I buy again. They just play contra within 20, 24 cent again. Then one fine day, the share went up to 30 cents, then 40 cents, then slowly up to 1 ringgit, 2 ringgit, and as of today, it's 3 ringgit plus already. So if you, back then, if you really understand what Frontken was doing, how they changed or pivoted their business, you would have hold on to Frontken tight, because they are in a very special business, and this business will just continue to grow, because at that moment of time, it was considered a very hot period for tech companies or chip companies to actually grow. And of course, hindsight is 2020. As of today, you can only see back, wow, last time Frontken was 20 cents. If I didn't sell Frontken today, I'll be sitting at a very huge kind of a capital gains if you hold on to such a company. And of course, they also have two other businesses, which is advanced surface treatment and also specialty coating. So basically, in very layman terms, a lot of machineries kind of things, they are made of metal, they're made of steel. And of course, if you don't protect your surface layer of your machinery and steel, they will get rusted, and then you shorten the lifespan of your machinery or whatsoever. So what Frontken does back then, as I understand, they were just very good at doing all this surface, applying a very protective layer onto, depend on what kind of surface that you want. And then they help to extend the durability of machineries and whatsoever. And that was what they did that I understand, and that was still the memory I had with Frontken. And last but not least, they are also in the rotating equipment servicing and engineering. Basically, all those big steel pipes or moving parts or whatsoever, they have the technicalities to help you to fix it up and put it up together. So that was the Frontken I knew back then. So Chun Beng, anything to top up on Frontken's business? Or maybe you would like to bring us through the wafer chip, why cleaning is so important in a semiconductor business?
Yeah, I think what is really important when you study Frontken is how they managed to pivot their original business model, which is later you can see is quite low margin, and then go into a place where it's having so much growth potential, and it tied to the high growth engine linked by all the tech players. So I think this is quite interesting, and then this is how bring them so far until 3 ringgit plus these days. So I think it's quite important for you guys to know, because from a layman you see, oh, this guy is like plate washer. They just help people to wash. So is it that important? Actually, it's quite important, because if you are into this line, of course, me and Jupan are not into this kind of line. We are not into the factories. We didn't study this field. But then the core thing about all this wafer fabrication is now all this technology already enter into a very small scale. We are talking about nanometers. Not the 9 nanometer, 10 nanometers. Now, I think the most advanced one is 5 nanometer are going to productions. And then, of course, in the future, we have 3 nanometer and so on. It's getting tougher and tougher for all the people to even fabricate or manufacture the stuff. And then each fabrication process involve different cleaning services. And fortunately, I think Frontken is one of the top players that are serving one of the company in Taiwan. And then I will go into very details. If you guys have time when you watch the replay, you can read the description. Basically, it's just different type of fabrication process also involve cleaning services, and all these things is about precision cleaning. And then this is provided by Frontken. So don't see this thing as a insignificant process. If you want to make the chips, it's very important. If we didn't do the cleaning well, all those things, the whole chips might malfunction and so on. So it's quite important. But of course, compared to the people that having the doing the design for the chips and whatnot, those are the guy that get a lot of, or much higher profit margin, but then go into precision cleaning. It's also not too bad in terms of margin, and then there are very little people or very little company providing this kind of service.
Okay, very, very cool. So yeah, that was a very funny kind of expression to just treat Frontken as a dishwasher or washerman and just say, "Allah, you are not important." But now that we know how important machine precision cleaning is in the semiconductor industry, let us look at the breakdown of Frontken's key geographical areas. When they say they have been growing, right? So what are the key regions that have been growing? So this is an excerpt that we got from their latest annual report. So you can see the Taiwan portion has been growing. From 2015, they were earning around 107 million, went all the way up to 186 million. So roughly 100% jump in 5 years coming from Taiwan. And when you eventually get very, very good at investing, right, you'll know that roughly each country, what are they good at one? Say for example now, because I've gone through quite a lot of studying, straight away people say they earn a lot of money from Taiwan. Then I will say, oh, most likely going to link to chip making companies or tech companies, because in Taiwan there are a lot of chip makers. Of course, there are a few famous ones, but there are also a lot of small ones. And just in terms, broadly speaking, the tech side of Taiwan is very big. And when you get a tech business in Taiwan, it will eventually grow. And that's where the key abilities of the companies there is. So if you even without the bottom portion part, I see Taiwan, then straight away I will link, okay, must be semiconductor. So you can see that the semiconductor and the Taiwan trend is going upward at the same trend. Taiwan is growing, semiconductor is growing. So boom, straight away I know that this company is doing something related to in Taiwan and related to semiconductor. So this is how actually you try to piece every information together. So we already know that this is the key area they focus, and you see the other business, oil and gas, and other business segment is not growing, and some of it is really dropping down. So you can say that they are really focusing hard on the semiconductor portion. So next, so if you guys haven't really go inside a chip making company before, right? So basically, chip making company, they really need the air to be high quality, no dust floating around. So they make sure that before you go in, there are a few chambers, and then you have to wear a protective suit, and you have to cover everything, even your hands and gloves, because our human body, we will actually have skin shedding or hair shedding. So these are all not allowed in the manufacturing of a wafer or chip. Once this dust drop onto a wafer, boom, that's it. Your stocks are all gone, and the chips making, the chip, everything is gone, because this is we are talking about micrometer, and nothing in the air can interfere with the manufacturing of chips. So you can see here, this is just a photo we have. We haven't been into a factory, and the management also said that they have invested heavily to ensure that they meet the requirements and also have the capability to service and to clean equipments inside the semiconductor industry, as you can see here. So if you go on next, is also another example. This is also another example inside a chip line. You can see that all the black cylinder is actually all chips, and you see all the people are actually covered up one. So it's a very controlled area, and you really need to ensure when you clean also, you cannot leave any dirty things back on the machine. So your key competencies in cleaning the machine must be very good. It must be thorough. The dirty machine that your client sent to you have to clean it speckless, nothing sticking onto the original machine and nothing new sticking into the machine. Then only you can send it back, and your client's machine can function as normal. So when you see how Frontken actually performed when they went into semiconductor businesses, this is actually what happened. Revenue shot up, profit margin also went up, and the net profit also went up because they were so good at what they were doing. They can charge the supplier or their client a huge sum of money. You want this to be done right? I can do it. So you pay me this amount of money because I think I am very well capable of doing it, and you would guarantee have a clean machine, and you will not get a lot of complaint because this is what I'm very good at doing. So when you see revenue going up and then profit margin also going up, and back then if you were to study the news and follow the news closely, you would have actually caught this stock before it actually went up to today's price lah. So Chun Bing, anything you want to top up when you look at this kind of annual report kind of trend?
Yeah, I think most of the time when you look into annual reports, first thing you will look into is whether this guy are making money, the revenue, what is the revenue figures on a year, from a year-on-year perspective, and then you zoom into the profits. But I think what is most interesting here is we have specifically spelled out the profit margin has been growing since they pivot into this business. So when the margin can keep on climbing up, I think you can interpret it from a few angles. One of it is this guy got something that no one else can do, or very little people can do. The second one is this guy wanted to do something that no one else wanted to do. The third one is this guy got something that he can do, but if another guy wanted to enter, they need to spend a lot of money. So I believe it's a combination of these three that make Frontken special for these few years, and then make them able to keep on charging higher and higher to their clients, and then making the annual reports or making the returns goods for the shareholders. So I think this one didn't come with luck; it come with hard work and all those things. Which, if this thing for me personally, I believe if they continue to serve this, and with the demand of semiconductor field continue to climb up because of 5G or whatnot, they will be in a position that quite unbeatable. But then the only question is whether the current share price is already expensive. So this is something that depends on the appetite. But then from the business perspective, this guy, I would say, is top notch at the moment. But then for you to buy it and become a shareholder now, it's a question mark. It depends on whether there are futures business stream coming in, or they have anything that wanted to diversify and go into different revenue streams. So this is some of the takeaway that I have lah. But of course, fundamentally, they are very strong from my opinions.
Okay, we talk about fundamentally they are strong. They have been growing their revenues. They have been showing increasing profit and also net profit. So now we look at their balance sheet. Wow, also another fantastic number. You see the assets has been climbing up. So asset climb up can be due to a few reasons. Expanding plant, buy new factory. Factory is an asset. So if you go buy new factory, confirm asset will go up. Or if they never buy new factory, but they still earn a lot of money, a lot of it must be cash, because cash is also asset. So you look at the total assets has been going up. 2017 was 430 plus million. And 2019, it went up to 550 million. And Q2 2020, it went up again to 562 million. And you see another good trend that we notice is their liabilities is pretty flat. But you look at their debt, that means once they earn money, they pay back all their borrowings, and their debt has gone down significantly. From 2017, they have borrowings 33 million. As of latest quarter, they only have 40 million. So this is a company, they have good business model, they can charge high premium, they earn the money, and then they pay off their debts. So eventually, this is a company that even COVID were to happen again, maybe business will be impacted, but you look at their cash. Cash is almost 50% of their total assets. So you think this company will run into liquidity issue? Highly impossible, because management has been very smart in managing the debt and also have enough cash to last through a tough period. So we saw how profitable the business is, and when you come to the balance sheet, you see how the company managed their debt and also manage their cash. Is also another plus point already. So it's already 2 plus points in terms of performance and how the company is run. Chun Beng, anything want to add on?
Yeah, I think you pretty much summarized what this guy has been showing to the shareholders. I think it's quite. I wouldn't say it's interesting. It's quite. If I'm the shareholder a few years back, I will be very happy and continue to be supportive to all this guy, because I will be having confidence this guy are doing legit business, earning money, and most importantly, they pay back the debts. I think most of this is some of the qualities company. I think one of the qualities criteria that you should see if the company whether they pay back debt or not.
So yeah, last but not least is the cash flow component. So when you see the revenue, profit and loss, and then the balance sheet, so good already. Most likely their cash flow statement also very nice one. And you can see here it's really true. So the blue bars represent their operating cash flow. So some business, they say they have profit, but you have to recognize profit reported is on accrual basis. Doesn't mean the money coming already. Once they sign a contract, they can say, okay, I lock in the sales, I have revenue already. But it's until you invoice your customer, then you see your customer pay you money into your bank account. That's where the cash flow come in. So in tandem, if your profit go up, cash flow for operating must also go up. And you see here the blue bar where the operating cash flow year on year, it has been going up like mad also. And then you look at financing. Just now I say that the debt went down more and more. So you see every year since 2017, the purple bar also went back close to zero because they pay back their debt. They don't have so much borrowing. Eventually, it will become flat, and the borrowing part will also become decreased. And you look at financing part. Financing usually, most likely, if it's a positive, means they do rights issue, they raise cash from the shareholder, they need money. So that's where you see your yellow bar is positive. But if it's negative, means usually the company pay out dividends. And if you have been a Frontken shareholder ever since it was just a penny stock, I think you will be laughing all the way to your bank if you have hold it today, not in terms of capital gains, but also in the dividend part. The company has been doing such a well done job in running the business. I think they also have been generous in paying out the dividends also. So that's where you get your yellow bars, negative of financing, because the company is paying out money, paying out cash to shareholders. To make anything to top up, or you want to go into the trump card, why Frontken is so successful?
Yeah, I think one of the guy commented as well. I think, Sim, you're right. The key catalyst behind Frontken's success story is this company called TSMC. The full name is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Companies. If you are familiar with Taiwan, you know this is one of the, they are like Samsung in Taiwan, Samsung equivalent in Taiwan. They contributed quite a big chunk of thing in terms of GDP for this Taiwan, and then it supported a lot of job creation and whatnot, and then this Frontken is supporting them in to doing these cleaning services, which you might think is just part of the value chain, but then one thing you need to take note is Taiwan Semiconductors Manufacturing Company, TSMC, is on a very upstream kind of thing when you talk about all these wafer fabrication and whatnot. They are on the upstream. They are not doing the end product, but they are providing the things that you need to create mobile phones, create high-tech devices and whatnot. They are on the upstream. Without them, Huawei cannot create their P50, P60, for example. Without them, Samsung, but Samsung of course didn't take from them. Samsung have their own manufacturing.
Apple taking from them. Yeah.
So when you have client like this serving on a very upstream kind of business, you will know pretty much you can see the especially the profit margin will be there because very little people on the upstream. It's like a pyramid kind of thing when I talk about upstream to downstream. Downstream is all about price war, distribution channel, but then upstream is about technologies, intellectual properties, and all the things that you have to make you special, and then a lot of people get from you. So this is the catalyst behind Frontken supporting one of the services needed by them. That's why they have the factories in Taiwan itself, because they need to support it. Once they manufacture, they can do the cleaning straight away. But then you might be wonder, this TSMC, they are, I don't think it's rumors anymore. There are news that Huawei cannot get the supply from there anymore. And then if I'm not mistaken, Huawei contributed about 10 to 15 kind of percent in terms of revenue size for this company. Then you see, wow, Huawei cannot take from them because of US-China trade war. Will this guy having a lot of problem and then causes Frontken to have problem as well? The answer is no, because after the gap being opened up, after Huawei need to pull out because of whatever reason, immediately Apple and all the other companies fill out the gaps. So you just imagine, let's say President Donald Trump suddenly lift the ban of Huawei, even though Huawei wanted to get their old business partner, which is TSMC, to manufacture the chips or the wafer for them. It might need to queue because all the productions has been taken up by Apples and a few companies. So this company is very, very strong. If you check out their share price, they are growing very, very much in these few months. So if the guy is growing so much and Frontken is the one supporting them, you can be assured that the next few quarters, Frontken's business is kind of secure. This is what I can see. You have anything to add, Chupan?
Yeah. So just to echo back just now the example you say, Frontken may be just a cleaner to TSMC, but if TSMC is a billionaire, at least Frontken is helping a billionaire to clean in a big bungalow and not not just a normal cleaner. So I think you pretty much let the cat out of the box. So TSMC is a very, very big chip company. If you want to actually go deeper, you can maybe let us know in the comment section. Do you want to know more about the chip making story, or it's a very interesting story how chip makers fight against each other and what is the business model. Because chips maker eventually, the big ones like Nvidia, you see here the right side. So that's a graphic card from Nvidia. Nvidia became fabless, means they just do the design, and then once they write the recipe out, they pass it to TSMC. Okay, make this chip for me. So TSMC will be the one having the machines, the pro Changi machines, and they will make the chips, and then they'll sell it back to Nvidia. Nvidia just do designing, so they don't have a worker salary to pay like TSMC, but they still need to pay the chip designer salary lah. And the same thing goes to Apple. Apple, all this while for their Mac, they have been taken from Intel, as all other laptop players are, because Intel usually is the de facto chips when it comes to making computers and laptops. But Apple grown very frustrated with Intel's performance. They say, I want something faster. I want something that is not so easily become hot. So they eventually skip the queue. They say, okay, I don't need your help anymore, Intel. I can make my own chips. What I need to do, I just hire good designers, design a chip, and pass it to TSMC. TSMC will make it for me, just like how TSMC make graphic cards chip proponents to Nvidia. And this is how TSMC actually grown, because they have become very, very good in chip making, and all the big players like Apple, Nvidia, actually passing their recipes to TSMC to make the chips, and they get the chips and they pass it to someone else to make a phone and whatsoever, and then they eventually sell the phone to people like us. So it's a fantastic business model and a cheap story lah. So let us know if you want to know in detail. Maybe we'll have a live on that if you want to know. But this is basically the catalyst behind Frontken and behind TSMC. So when you buy into Frontken, you invest into Frontken, you're investing into their potential to grow with TSMC and hoping TSMC can also continue to grow with companies like Apple and Nvidia. So yeah, up till now, I hope you guys enjoy how the mystery unraveled. And of course, this is the prospects of TSMC, because eventually, if you know Frontken is going to be very good at cleaning, you should also look at the risk TSMC is potentially facing. Because if TSMC were to catch up, or a competitor were to catch up with TSMC, of course, it will impact TSMC earnings, and it also will impact Frontken. So it's a you die, I die, you jump, I jump kind of scenario. But if you are active in the news, a few weeks back, Intel, who are quite left behind in the chip race, they just announced that they were going to face another delay in terms of 7nm chips. And because of that, TSMC jumped up 10%, because inside the chip making kind of war, there are only a few players, TSMC, Samsung, the big ones and Intel. I think Zhishen also asked about SMIC. So SMIC is a China-based chip making company. I think they are 2 generations behind TSMC at the moment. And why SMIC will play an important part is because of trade war. The moment China tech companies cannot get chips from Taiwan or the other big players, they will definitely have to rely on their own country's chip maker to actually come up with the chips. But if you also follow the news, SMIC also have been headhunting TSMC engineers to grow at a faster rate. So it's a very interesting sector to look into and to follow up with the news. SMIC might catch up if they buy the whole TSMC engineers over, but that's not the case. But it's still very early to pinpoint, but as of now, they are 2 generations behind. So if they can, they also need a lot of years to slowly catch up the generation, and then only they can cut and overrun TSMC.
Yeah, I think one thing.
Yeah,
I need to add. Maybe when we talk about 1 generation behind, 2 generation behind, it is how small this guy can fabricate. So I think the latest technology that already can go into production, but then not for mass production, is 5 nanometers. I guess not much player in the world can do it. TSMC is one of the, I would say, most matured guy. That's why they are big, and then they are sort of unchallengeable by even company like Intel's. I think Intel only has stable production of 9 nanometer at the moment. They are working very hard for 7 nm. But imagine TSMC already start to go into 5 nanometers, and then they already have planned for 3 nanometers. They have laid out the roadmap. So this is something that make this company so unique. And then you got to admit, if you are Taiwanese, starting from 1970s, 1980s, the whole nation has been putting all their resources to build this company. It's like how Korea supported Samsung, because they know this thing will be the backbone of their GDP in the future, and this is true. But it's quite interesting. Both Taiwan and China are Chinese, but of course they are both having different political views. One is communist, one is liberals, or we call it capitalism. And of course, there's some story. Taiwan is backed by US and whatnot. This is the reason why SMIC cannot pick up, because there are so many stories that China wanted to do something quick, and they can be super innovative, but before they can go into the core, get the core technique to do it, they just buy it. For example, TikTok didn't invent the whole thing by themselves. They basically buy a company from I think Europe or US called Musical.
Musically, yeah.
Yes. And then they just buy it and become so much innovative on it, and then make this TikTok, I would say, enter the whole world. All the youngsters are using those. So this is what China is good at. Maybe they are not super creative, but you give them the technique, they can become so innovative. It's like how WeChat evolved into a super app, but WhatsApp still a chatting app as of now. So this is how Chinese people, as in Chinese can do it lah. And then there's some sharing on a side note lah. Maybe we can go into the next, right?
Yep.
Talking about the risk.
Yep. Yeah. When you talk about just now, we just paint you the very prospects. TSMC will continue to be the spearhead in terms of technology when it comes to chip making, and it will be very hard to catch up with them. But it doesn't mean it's impossible. It's just that now they are running maybe a full marathon 42 km. Then maybe at 10 km ahead, and then other players are at 5 km ahead. So it doesn't mean that laggards cannot cut over them. So it's an open race. Just happened that TSMC currently is one of the fastest, but you cannot really just say that they will forever be number one. Sometimes things happen, and when things happen, you will have to relook into company's prospects again, and you also have to see whether Frontken still have the edge or not lah. If TSMC one day gets overtaken by other players, and how bright you want to paint the semiconductor companies or semiconductor sector, eventually the deep fact about semiconductor industry is very cyclical. Of course, we are living at this current time. So luckily, we are talking about 7 nanometers and 5 nanometers. But there was a period of time where science and technology had a very tough breakthrough to actually shrink down the size of the chips. They weren't doing enough. There wasn't enough progress to be done. Imagine back then when chips in size of nanometers was very tough or impossible to actually achieve. But I mean, slowly with time and whatsoever, we become smarter. We applied more physics and whatsoever, and then we managed to shrink down the chips. But it really takes time to learn, to go up the next level, and then to shrink down the chips as a much smaller state. So during that period of time where maybe the whole entire world is still learning, you won't see semiconductor stocks going up like crazy. And there are also some examples where they burn too much money in terms of R&D, and then they have to support each other. Means the semiconductor company need to support another semiconductor company because there was not enough money, and they actually burned through a lot of cash to actually find a breakthrough in terms of science and technology to actually make the chip size smaller. So bear in mind, when you invest in semiconductor company, it can be very rosy, it can be very bright now, but bound to be ups and down, cyclical. It won't be as terrible as oil and gas stock, but it will still happen. There will still be cyclical factors to a semiconductor company. So should there anything to top up?
If you are from engineering background, probably you heard of these terms before called Moore's law. I don't know whether I pronounce it correctly or not.
Moore's law, yeah.
Yeah. It's something like you can double the thing in every 1 year, something like that. So basically, the whole thing behind this Moore's law, I think one of the leaders should be Intel. They are saying they can double the efficiency each year, and then this has been true until a few years back. So this is something that echo back what Jupan has mentioned. It can be quite dangerous because this entire company, be it upstream or downstream, they are supporting each other. Upstream won't be able to go into 3 nanometer, 1 nanometer, or whatnot if the application of 5G or whatnot is not going into the life of normal people like us. We don't seem to be interested to buy all those devices. Driverless car just means nothing to me. I don't think it. If all these things happen, then there isn't much prospect or money go into the industry, and then this industry will get stuck. And when this industry gets stuck, they will need to cut costs or whatnot. So people like Frontken, probably one of the guy that can get eliminated. For example, they might not get eliminated, but the revenue will impact heavily. But of course, I don't think it will happen now. The key factor that pull down the entire economy is because of the pandemic, but I believe because of pandemic also kind of speed up the progress of technologies. So in my opinion, I think technology will be very, very bright in the futures, because nothing much you can do, and everyone realize that pandemic can be a new norm. Maybe this year is COVID-19, then 5 years later is another virus coming out, and things like that will happen. And technology is the only way to keep everyone forwards. So for me, I think even though the risk is there, but then in the near term, I don't see any risk because of COVID actually make these things progress faster, because every not company, every countries have no choice but to put everything into digitalization, because without this, a lot of people no job, nothing much can do. Even though the country got money, they want to put in, cannot keep on giving pre-13, it's meaningless because it's not contributing back to the GDP. But they need to go into something interesting or something that have prospect. IT or tech is the only thing that most of the country will enter. But tech can be biotech and whatnot, but it's tech in general.
Yeah, fully agree. So last but not least,
most important one.
After we look through the business model of Frontken, the performance, how the company is run, and what is the prospects, what's the risk of the company, then of course people would like to know what is the so-called valuation of this company. So if you look at it, Frontken trailing EPS is around 7 cents, PE 51. A PE ratio of 51 for Frontken as of today's price. ROE is impressive, 17%. And of course, CAGR, you see how they rise is fantastic, double-digit kind of growth. And then profit margin is also very fantastic. 21% for profit margin is too good to be true. It's a very good company. Only you have very strong business case, then you can ask for that kind of price. And of course, they give up dividend also. Dividend is 2.5 cents, but because of the share price is so high now, that's why you're just getting 0.69 trailing dividend yield. So Chun Bing, maybe give us your feedback or comment or opinion. Frontken as a business and as a valuation, what are your thoughts?
I think fundamentally, we have shared so much. We have it's a good company, very little debt, and most importantly, it's solid business model that give you very high margin. But then whether it's too expensive to enter now, for me, probably yes at the moment for me personally. But what you can do if you wanted to go into this kind of stock, I think probably Japan can share is how you do forward PE calculation. Of course, forward PE can be a lot of assumption. It's like, I think one of the time we shared this thing before and we make the example of Top Glove. So similar practice you can do. From what I see is you can do a proxy of what TSMC able to produce and then try to backward calculate to Frontken. And if there are a lot of production being lined up and all those stuff, then probably the forward PE can be much lower in that sense. But then this is just one perspective of it. The second one is whether they have expansion plan to build more factory or whatnot. But I think from the plan at the moment, no lah. So the only thing is very much dependent of the key client, whether they have secured big business, and then whether they are spending or not. I think I've covered one of the things. I've covered it as well lah. TSMC, Huawei pulled out, but then it has been filled out by Apple or whatnot. So I would say it's quite risk-free to go in. But then capital gain or not, maybe you need to be patient. It won't be like growth stock. Last time, like growth stock lah. But glove stop is a miracle. Until now, I cannot believe it that it's still happening. Up, down, and can bounce back. So it for me, it's a miracle. I don't know how it happened, but I think it's crazy lah for now.
So yeah, I think we also have one comment. Don't worry, now we're just cherry picking on the comments. Later, all the comments, the questions, we will definitely go through them one by one. So just that this comment actually resonate with the slide. So Yu Fu Xiong is asking, is the share price overvalued at the moment? It's a very good question. As Chun-Ming mentioned just now, you will really need to, now that we know that TSMC is one of the key proxy or key catalysts that Frontken can continue to grow, you might want to also monitor TSMC as well. Is TSMC building new foundries to make new chips? And if they have new foundries, definitely they will have new machineries. And they have new machineries, definitely the new machineries will also need cleaning. So if current machine also sent to Frontken to do cleaning, most likely the other machines might also send to Frontken to do cleaning. Of course, you don't want to screw up, right? But that doesn't mean that Frontken does not have their competitors. Kelvin just now also asked. And I think Frontken have their fair share of competitors. But I think a lot of them are maybe Taiwanese because all the chip companies, the big ones, are actually at Taiwan. And maybe they also have their reliable cleaning company within Taiwan. And to be very honest, Frontken didn't set up their Taiwan company. They bought over, they invested in the current company, and then they applied their R&D to the company. And once they caught hold of the capability and the requirements, then they were able to service companies like TSMC. So yes, doesn't mean it's going to be a clear win, but if they manage to secure a good client like TSMC, more likely if they continue to maintain their standards and whatsoever. And also, just now Chun-Ming also mentioned, chip making is always going smaller and smaller. Today, Frontken is able to clean a semiconductor machine which manufactures 7 nanometer chips. Do they have the capability to also clean machines that produce 5 nanometer chips? Do they also prepare for the next future, don't know how many years down the road, for 3 nanometers? So everything is still on an observation basis. Today is a win doesn't mean that in the future it will win. So you always have to be alert, following up with the news. And when you read this news, you have to link back to your thesis when you invest into a company like Frontken. Because if you don't follow up with the news, bad things happen, and then that's where you see your capital losses coming in. So I think we finished the slides already, right, Chun-Ming?
Yes.
Okay, so now we go one by one the questions. So Dawson and Friedrich, yep, you got it right. Maybe you guys have looked into this company and you straight away said that it's a service and engineering stock. Bingo, you guys got it correct. And then JuJuR also got it correct. That Frontken is now a heavily dependent on the semiconductor company, and they offer equipment cleaning. So Kelvin asked Unisem. Not sure you are referring to which part. How Unisem? I think Unisem is an OSAT player, right? Previously, I think last week when we talked about Inari, Unisem was one of the so-called categories that share the same background or the same circle with Inari, maybe different types of semiconductors, but they are still in the OSAT area. So yeah, if you want to clarify your questions, let us know. Of course, we also answered what are the competitors. I think a lot of Taiwanese players are doing the cleaning. I don't think I have come across yet a listed company that is also in the cleaning business within Taiwan. Maybe I should also dig more. And if I found out any answers, I'll let you guys know. Catch us in our future episodes. Okay, AMD. So, as I said just now, chip making companies, how they partner with who is also a very exciting story. AMD is also fabless, but they don't ask TSMC to make their chips. They ask a company called Global Foundries, which is a US listed chip making company. Why AMD asked Global Foundries to make their chips? Because previously Global Foundries was part of AMD. If before that, long time ago, AMD or something like Intel, they design their chips and then from one department, they pass to another department and that department makes the chips. So in view with how fabless companies were becoming more and more profitable, they cut off the chip making business and then they list it out separately under Global Foundries. So AMD chips are under Global Foundries and not under TSMC. So interesting, right? Why AMD never asked TSMC? Yeah, now you know, because it's a minority shareholder of Global Foundries. Zhisheng also asks, any other companies need this type of cleaning, rely too much on TSMC, also a bit risky. I think in Taiwan, there are few chip making companies. Of course, the news that I can find that link them is to TSMC. I'm not sure whether other chip companies are also helping out, contributing to Frontken's business lah. But as of now, I can only find TSMC. Let us know maybe if you guys found any news headlines that show that Frontken is also supporting other chip makers in Taiwan.
I think we have next comment, which is interesting to me. Probably you can cover this next week if you guys are interested in this company. Probably we won't talk about it now because it's too short to cover over a reply to a comment. I think it's too short and it can be quite biased.
We are not that irresponsible. If you ask us as a company, we'll make sure we allocate 1 hour to tell you properly what is the company about, just like today.
Yeah. So I think if you guys are interested to get the slide, probably can just leave a comment or PM us lah. Then we will send it to you. I think you can just PM us make it easier.
PM us. We will send you the slides.
Yes.
We hope that you finally found out how the elephant feel like or look like now that everything is shown out to you. And we also agree Frontken is a very good company. And of course, we envy whoever who actually invested in the company back then at 20 cents and is still currently holding. Anyone in the comments watching, if you are shareholder of Frontken, please raise your hand so that we can also congratulate you for keeping hold of such a good stock, good company. Yeah.
So I think,
of course, as always, we are very grateful.
If there isn't any comment coming in.
Yeah, so if you guys have any question,
then we
will end the session as always. Thank you.
And also,
thank you very much for tuning in every Thursday, 1 hour.
And just a side note, I think most of you guys are watching it from Facebook. We also broadcast it together to YouTube channel. If YouTube is one of your highest highly used kind of application, probably you can subscribe to our channel and then you get notified when our live is started. So every social channel can just look for the same term, mykayaplus. You should be able to locate us. And also one thing to share is we are going to premiere a video in 30 minutes time, which is going to cover another company business model. Just go to our YouTube channel to view it. I think the premiere is scheduled at 10:30 p.m. So feel free to check that video out. And then if you guys have any company want us to cover on their business model, can also put it into the comment section and then we will cover it.
Definitely.
So I think that's it. Probably we'll end the session now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. It has been a very happy session with you guys. Thank you for being so supportive. Thanks for the likes and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week, same time, 9 p.m. every Thursday. And let us know which company you want to know or to watch about next week.
See you.
See you. Bye bye.